there you go, I think.
Nice. Well, a big hello from our judo club, the NA Judo Club, and to Isaac, who is going to be helping us. He's just coming back after injury, actually. I'm not going to be throwing him, but we'll be just looking at some of the things that we saw at the two events, the two Grand Slam events that have just happened in Paris and Baku, and how the new rules seem to impact. And I don't know if many of you have seen the commentary, but the commentary was upbeat because I thought that the translation of the rules and the rules that were used, I thought they came out great. I thought it was flowing, and it seemed to flow a lot better than we've seen it for a while. And I think that a lot of that is because of the way the referees were interpreting and the rules and some of the new things that were in there as well to make a difference. We were just talking about it now. We're just saying that one of the great things for us was that it was the flow of the contest and the fact that there wasn't so many stops for Shidos and things like that. So, I mean, it'll bring us on to the first thing, which was evident, was the Kumakata here, the allowing everybody to go inside the jacket, onto the edge for pistol grip. There were cross grips. There were all sorts of different Kumakata, as long as it was in a positive way. And that meant that if everybody was, for example, gripping up, if he grips me and I grip him, and if we just pin it, if we're pinning it down here, it was mate and it was Shido. And people got penalized for that because it wasn't being used. But a lot different if, for example, if I've got this down here and then I'm taking it across here and then attacking, or, push it across, create space here and then attack, then it was good. They were happy with that as long as we caught the grip, second hand on, attack, and we used the advantage. I think the ones that didn't use the advantage were the ones that were being penalized. So, for example, if you had no intention of throwing, then it would be Shido. But I think we need that. You've got to know that it's got to be a positive with the Kumakata to be able to go forward. All right, so I'm not sure if you're going to fire. I'm not sure if you're going to fire questions at us. All right, I'll try and work a way through just some of the things that really impacted for me. Another thing on the Kumakata is that sometimes, like if it's opposite, left against right, right against left, left against right here, it's an opposite. It's difficult to catch the opposite sleeve. And so you get this situation here. And of course, then you either attack this front leg with a one-handed technique and then bring the other hand in, or different ways of catching. And what I did see were that people were just literally coming forwards to catch the inside of the sleeve here to bring it in. All right, so I saw it a couple of times. I thought that was quite interesting. But again, if you do it, and you're allowed to do it now, if you do catch it here, it's all about move and then attack afterwards, right? So if you do that, or if you've got any kind of pistol grip here, then you've got to attack. It means, and I just did it with the under-23s yesterday. We had the whole of the British squad there. The under-23s, and it was about how we can grip, no matter what grip it is here, and it's taken across here and really set it up before we attack. And also, if it's an opposite from here, big advantage now that we have is that we can cross grip. And I used to do this a lot, but then it went out. We couldn't cross grip or do any unorthodox grip without attacking immediately. Now they give you chance. You have now got time to set it up, all right, which means that actually, and what I used to do from here is to pull this shoulder in so that I could scoop up the hand before then readjusting. So it's a great advantage now for me to be able to do that. If it's a right to right situation here, then again, on this near side here, rather than going for the far lapel here, and then trying to control with this Suruti hand here, and often then what they'll do is control your hand here. So for me, it was a lot easier for me to go to this nearest side here and to control this whole side. So I would pull it in and then I would attack with the Yamarashi grip. Gives us a lot more opportunity for that kind of stuff. All right, so just a couple of things that we did notice there with the Kumakata, a lot more freedom, but you have to use it. It means that you've got to be very positive with your training in your clubs, and I'm talking to the coaches now, that if you're running randori sessions, you need to be proactive. Positive Kumakata, not just breaking grips off. You know, I see sometimes things where they're just snapping grips off and then they come back in, and good for the forearms, all right, but not good for the positive side of the Kumakata. From every grip, this was the other thing that I noticed, is that some of the top fighters, if they could only get one hand on, and I tell you, who am I talking about now? Double Olympic champion under 81 kilograms. Japanese, Nagase, all right? So Nagase was prime for this. And what he would do, he wouldn't always go for the sleeve if he's fighting opposites. But what he would do is go to the nearest lapel and pull it in. And so he'd have two hands on here. But then what he would do, and I'll move a little bit away, hopefully so that you can see the legs of the bed, all right? But what he would do then was that he had a really nice Ouchigari. So he would really attack with the Ouchigari here. But then what he would do is come across for the Ashiguruma. He's got an amazing Ashiguruma. Not Harai, because the leg is on the outside here. But he does it a lot, and he does it against opposites. All right, so opposite stance. Goes to this nearest lapel here, all right, pulls it in here, uses the Ouchi here, sometimes into the Uchimata, but a lot of the time what he'll do is do there and then across to the Ashiguruma, just blocks the far leg. Brilliant at it. And if you go Nagase on line, all right, you'll be able to see some of his fights and how he gets across for that Ashiguruma. He did a beautiful one in Baku, fantastic one. He's left-handed actually. I'm doing it right-handed, he's left-handed. All right, so he does it against righties. He loves them. He loves them. Okay, next thing. What can we do? This is another thing that came. Yes, go on. Nikki's going to interject as well, because we're just going to try and work our way through some of the things that I did yesterday with the British squad people, things that I noticed. Yes.
So one of the main questions on Instagram,
yes,
is what is the difference between Wazari and Yuko?
Right. So I like the Yuko. I'm just going to say it, all right? I really like it. I thought it worked really, really well. I think that there are a lot of people there thinking, right, if I get a score here, I don't have to go into golden score. I can finish it. And so they were sometimes just looking for that. The Diashi Barai, first thing that Isaac said to me is, good for me, because he's great with the feet and Ashiwaza. All right, put a quick Ashiwaza there, bang like that. Don't have to go into golden score all over. Now, the difference is that Wazari is 90 degrees towards the back. All right, 90 degrees there. So if it lands side, I'm not sure if that's going to pick us up. Eh?
If you go right to the far corner,
Okay.
it might.
Just go onto the side, that side, this one. Yeah, so absolutely on the side there. All right, put your leg out there as well. Let's just make it absolute 90 degrees. So there's the 90 degrees there. And if it goes towards the back, 91, 92, 93, all the way there, obviously that's your Wazari. If it's one movement, all right, if it's one movement where they're going towards the back there and all of the back patches taken up and it's with momentum and movement, all right, so it can go Ouchigari or, okay, thank you. All right, so it can go Ouchigari and rolling onto the back pass disappears, that's going to be your Ippon. Or if they land, all right, with impetus on their back pass disappearing, it's a good indicator, or shoulders, most of your back and shoulders, it's going to be an Ippon, all right? So 90 degrees towards, all right, anything that's not quite the Ippon is going to be the Wazari, for sure. 90 degrees less, and this is where the tricky part was for most of the referees. And I think, you know, the top table as well, you know, the supervisors were having, and the commission were having more of a problem with not so much where the top of the Yuko was, because 89 degrees, so just round it back again, on this side. All right, so it's on this side. So if it's not towards the back and it's 89 degrees here, just put your feet straight first of all. 89 degrees here, Yuko. 89 less, Yuko. All right, if it's side here, if the legs are completely turned over. Now, this was one of the things that we said at the beginning, is that if they were completely turned over there, then maybe not a score. But it didn't work out like that, because obviously you could see here that the top half here is still, the side is in contact. And I think that it has to be where it's completely on the front there, as to where it won't score the Yuko, it won't. The difficulty, and this is the grey area, is from here just as to where it is going to score, and I think that's the difficulty that they had to score out of the two events. I think that was the most difficult part. So if there's a grey area, thank you, Isaac. If there is a grey area, that's the grey area. But the next couple of events will show, and the referees will get better and better at calling it. But yes, definitely from the 90 degrees, 89, all the way down. If it's completely on the front, because we did see some overthrows, there were quite a few overthrows that you could see landed on the front, all right, and there were definitely no score. But there were also some that landed and very quickly they roll onto their front. And so what they do then is have a look at where it landed before they go onto the front, because it scored. All right, so some of those, when we saw the freeze frame of the absolute landing, were on the side, or classified as on the side, and they got the Yuko. All right, so one or two were overturned, because, you know, obviously the way to get off the technique, if somebody's throwing you, if you go over and you turn very quickly and onto your front, if you land and turn very quickly onto your front, the naked eye can't always detect it. All right, so they would stop it, see where the absolute landing was, and then as to whether it was a Yuko or not. So it was interesting, and I think that if there's anything that's just a little bit tad grey, it's the beginning of that Yuko. Okay, any other? All right, so I will just pick up.
Maybe while you're on the Yuko, talk about the groundwork Yuko.
All right, so this was an interesting one. The groundwork Yuko is, and I know that there's a lot of people out there going, 5 seconds. What's 5 seconds, right? But actually, we saw quite a few fights that were could have gone long, and somebody does a nice bit of groundwork and they turn the offside commi on, and the referees were instructed not that it has to be a really good offside commi before they start the 5 seconds. So in other words, so say for example, if I turned, if I turned for the Sangaku, so just roll this way here. Right, so if I turn into the Sangaku, I'm not going to put it on, all right, because like I said, Isaac is injured, right? So from here, if I don't pull my hips up properly, or if I don't come up and secure the hold down here properly, in other words, I have something that they're not quite sure whether it's almost an offside commi, but not bang offside commi. All right, so weight is pressing downwards, then they probably won't count it until you secure it properly. I think that's a good thing, because it means that when we've actually turned over, it means then that we've got to come on top and really secure the hold down properly, whatever it is. So if we're fighting and I haven't quite got it here, no 5 seconds will be counted. As soon as I get to this and I go offside commi here, then the 5 seconds will count. We did see a few 5-second hold downs that then won the contest. If you go into offside commi and hold it there, most of the time you're going to go 10 or 20 seconds. It's not a problem, especially if your hips are positioned in the right way. We saw a lot of the Japanese men's and women's team transitioning down beautifully. That brings us on to the transition in a second. All right, the transition that they had was immense. A lot of transitional ippongs where they were throwing, beautifully throw, follow it down. We saw the double lapel and one leg trapped, take the leg out and into the offside commi, all right? So what they would do is, once they've thrown, they would get into this position here, just turn around this way, all right? So they would immediately come into the double lapel turn. They would turn one leg trapped, so this leg would feed in so that it was trapped here, and then they would come up to this position here, tie up the top half here, this leg down, take the leg out, readjust balance, and in for the ippon. Probably 30 of those over the weekend, last weekend, 30, just by the Japanese team. It was relentless. And I would always have the same commentary, and it would be, this is just a matter of time now before the leg comes out. 99% of the time, the leg would come out offside commi, all right? So the transition and the follow down was absolutely imperative. And I'm talking about transition going down into newaza, but also transition coming up. So we saw a couple, Seoinage, all right? So from here, so go down onto your knee first. So if we're in this situation here, you can see that I'm set here for the shimiwaza, all right? So I've got actually possibility of the shimiwaza, but it's still tachiwaza. This is still tachiwaza, because you can see his hand here. If he has a second stab at it, and this is what Jessica Klimke was doing a lot of at the weekend, readjustment of balance, and then she'd go again, and I'd go over. So this is still tachiwaza, all right? And so what would happen is, you used to have to be facing your opponent to be able to throw them in certain aspects, all right? Now you don't. So what they were doing was keeping them up. As they were starting to come up here, then they would counter either with Taniotoshi over here or Oranagi, and we saw a few of those scoring really big, all right? Or just literally coming up and then Ashiwaza Kosoto's back, all right? So actually, the person that has the CNA, he's already blocked it, go down on your knee, already blocked it here, stopped it here, starts to pull them up out of it, but we also saw this person here, they would abandon it, and this arm goes down and that arm goes down there, but you need the elbows down for it to be Newaza, all right? So 2 hands down, him stopping wasn't enough, because I could pull it back up and then I could attack, all right? What I couldn't do is pull it off the ground, but as they were coming up was when I could get the counter attack in. Saw a few scores with that, and now you don't have to pull them up and then come face on before you attack and throw. You don't have to, all right? So you can do it from behind.
Tom's just asked, you basically answered his question, but
Right.
what, so what he says, either in a rule sense or strategy-wise, so he's saying, are people really looking at that in terms of strategy and tactics?
As far for scoring?
The transition.
Yes.
His whole question is, do the new rules affect the transition from Tachiwaza to Newaza?
Yeah.
They do a bit, but
Well, yeah.
it really is in the strategy, isn't it?
It is in the strategy, and Tom, the massive advantage now that we have is that they're going to allow you to follow down and give you time to build. So say, for example, my partner's gone down, so we have a lot of kind of Kataguruma attacks there, all right, to go this way. So if we have poor attacks here, this is an ideal time for us to follow through. All right, snap off here, and then either come this side here to attack, or this side here to attack. We saw a couple of fighters moving around, and even though he's dropped, so he might be in for a Shido when he gets up, but even though they drop, they play the advantage, right? But I think that's brilliant. Now they play the advantage. This is good for me, because before what they do is go mate, and we'd have to stand up. So his poor attack has stopped me from attacking him, all right? And now, all right, we've got the ideal opportunity, because now it means he goes really bad, I stop it, I snap off, and now I can start. And as long as it's progressive, and as long as I start the movement, and I go here, and I come here, and then I can start to build, and I can go here, and I can build my technique, and I can come up here, I can attack from every different angle, and I can score the Ippon in the end, hopefully. All right, so yes, great advantage. And from a tactical point of view, for coaches out there, this is an ideal opportunity for you now, as part of your rendering and as part of your training, is to get your fighters to go down every single time they go down, even if it's just a 10-second follow through, catch, you know, like for Juji Gatami, for example, you need to catch the arm. If it's Shimiwaza, you need to catch the neck. Double lapel, you need to catch the lapel and then start. It's all about the catch, and you need to control with the legs as well. So everything needs to be there, but you need to get used to going from here down to there. And if you separate them, and a lot of clubs do, I know they do, and somebody said to me, I think it's Matt Duval said to me Sunday, and he said, the problem is that the restriction in size of the place, all right? But then all I can say is just make it smaller groups and make a part of your training where it is absolutely transition. You can't leave it out. You can't. If we need to keep our 50-50 with the Newaza and the Tachiwaza, we need to have it as part of the training, all right? So coach's job to make sure that that happens.
Well, he says this feels like a very exciting development, including for spectators. Can you expand on that from like a commentary?
Well, I think so, because I love it. You know, if it's really exciting groundwork, I think that If it's, our groundwork is fast, you have to be fast in, you have to execute it, you need to keep it under control, and it needs to be progressive. So that's good, that's exciting. If it's not progressive, Mate, you stand up. All right, so people like to see the progression in Tachiwaza. So we start, it's all about the grips, whether it's catching here and then onto the neck. All right, it's 1 and then 2. All right, whatever it is, it's build up and then attack. People like to see the progression and the techniques build. And I think that now what we've got is a chance to build it from standing down to ground. We had it in the 80s, right? And I hate to say, you know, back in the day, and I don't want to do that, but definitely we've lost the way a little bit and we have to bring it back. And I did say that on Sunday when I was there. All right, edge play. So this was an interesting one, all right, in edge, in is that we had.
Well, this did take us back to the good old days.
Well, it did do actually, you know, but there were several people that thought that it could go any one of 2 different ways, right? So it could have gone any one of them, all right, in is that, no edge, so you're not going to get a Shido for him. I'm not going to get him a Shido if I push him up here and make him step out 2 feet. That's not going to happen now. So, all right, the other side of that is that if this person is in danger, so I catch a grip, I've got a massive Uchimata, I'm just about to come in, and he starts to go to Jigatai, and he pulls us out of the area, and Mate back to the middle. No penalty to be given, right? But that's not necessarily true. All right, so I think that we did see as well a couple of times that somebody in Newaza going into the attack and the person just drifting out in Newaza outside of the area. Right? So I think that what will happen.
Was it drifting or was it?
No, purposely going. Purposely going. All right. So we need to avoid that. We can't have them purposely going out the area just for the Mate to come back in. Tachiwaza the same. You can't have this person here just because I'm dominating here, pulling outside of the area. And I did see it one time, one fight, where they literally pulled out, all right, but actually on one of the occasions got the Shido for purposely going out. So I think that's good. All right, so if you just drift out purposely, you're going to get penalized. What I did see from a really positive point of view is that if I had them there, we'd fought hard for the grips. The person here would just come back into the area here, and even with 1, 2 back in, as long as one was there, and I came back here, I was still able to attack and set it up and get the action reaction. Amazing amount were backed up towards the edge, or would go towards the edge, would push back to try and get back in, which gave the opportunity for the attack. There's an amazing amount that actually, I was really surprised. I think the referees were surprised at how easy it was on the edge. Obvious going out, you know, then you're still going to get penalised, but most people fought so hard for the Kumakata to get 2 hands on that I want to keep it. I was talking to Mark Hausinger about it. He was pretty good. He was Olympic champion and a great thrower. And he said to me, Neil, if I got them here, if they were pulling towards the edge, he said, I'd pull them back. I want them back in the middle here, ready to throw. I want to throw it. The other thing is, as well, is that if they are pulling out and you lean back, then you've got action reaction. You can see that they're already going out that way. So rather than pushing and getting them pushing back, which is what it used to, they used to push back so that I could throw to the front, right? I think it's the opposite here now. So if they're pulling, pull back, action reaction, all right, and then we can do the ouchigaris to the back. All right, action reaction is still very much a part of the edge play, I think. I don't know if there's any questions on that. Have we got any questions? No questions on that.
Interesting. Quiet.
You'll have to play it to really understand it. You know that when you see it, we had some that are going to go this weekend from the under-23s into competition first time. Some of the referees will be refereeing for the first time as well. So you'll have to just feel it, you know, and I think that was one of the main things from this, is that the referees will have to feel the match. I think the main point and what was put forward by the commission was that we were trying to keep the flow of the contest rather than mate back to the middle, mate, Shido back to the middle. And I think it worked great. I thought it was very good at the last two events. What else have I got down there, Nick?
Failed attack versus.
Right, this is another good one. So people were talking to me about a failed attack. A failed attack is still an attack. So the failed attack might be, all right, so I got really strong here, and he might attack me, and as he attacks, I block it. Right, so actually my block has stopped him from rotating around. I've blocked it, and because I'm really powerful, I've stopped him from coming all the way around. All right, that is different than him just under pressure, and he drops to his knees and lets go with the hands. All right, and it might have a full rotation, just fully rotate, and he lets go with the hands there. All right, and that is a negative attack. That's not an attack. All right, so that will be immediately Shido. And what they've said is that it has to be with the intention of throwing. All right, so if you haven't got an intention of throwing and you just drop, all right, so I saw a few, pressure was on there, head pulled in there, and they knew that they had to attack. I'm up like that, and then they dropped to the knees there, and then back up. It's mate, back to the middle, Shido for him. All right, so that is not an attack. It's not a failed attack. It's a false attack. All right, so that's the difference between, and I think I know that intention is not the word that they want to use, but I think that we can honestly see there that sometimes it's just to get out of trouble, and you know, and so we need to stop. Yeah.
What about transition coming up?
Yeah, so we did the transition. Yeah, we did. Okay, so Shidos.
I think it's okay.
I like to think that we've got less Shidos. So I certainly didn't see a lot for the Kumakata, very few Shidos for the Kumakata. Edge play, not a lot. Passivity, there was some for passivity. So you can still have people, you can't make people attack. You know, as much as you can introduce as many rules as you possibly want. All right, if you've got a grip here, what we want is for people to attack. All right, so we want it to be used. If we get something that was what was classified as unorthodox, then what we want is people to have the setup to use it. And that's a great way to look at it now. And for the ones that are going to teach or introduce the skills of the Kumakata into a throw, never forget the setup. The setup is the most important thing. Getting the action reaction, but it's one of the things that's wrong with static uchikomi. All right, so anything static where we're just moving in here, it might be beautiful there, but as soon as it moves, it's different. All right, and actually, the whole setup, whether it's here, push across here, set it up, and then the movement in, all right, is really important. That's why when we're from here, is we try and get it moving, because a lot of Ashiwazas as well at the weekend. There were loads of Ashiwazas. Really great feat. Every one of the Ashiwazas, and you know, people were saying to me, it looks so simple with Ashiwaza. And the reason is that as soon as it moves here, then there's no weight on the feet, none whatsoever. And we saw sometimes this foot going back here, and then just hardly any weight on that foot there, Diashibarai, and we saw a Kuriashi as well, and some amazing movements and amazingly timed Ashiwaza. Great to see. I love Ashiwaza.
Oh, I know that. I don't even know the timing, but the IJF put out a number. What was it, 30 seconds or something like that?
For attacking?
For attacking. And I know coaches are gonna absolutely
jump all over.
Jump over
for grips as well, isn't that?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
so
Because
you know,
I know why people do it. They want a qualitative thing to pass on instead of going with feel and things like that.
I think they put this 30-second one out. I think that if somebody has a grip and they're just holding it there or two hands down here, it can be a lot less than 30 seconds. So it can still be, you know, because people were complaining, weren't they? They were going, you know, the Shido's too soon. But actually, when you've got somebody pushing it down there and he's pushing that down there, and we're not moving and we're not going to move, mate, and away, you know, you get your Shidos. All right. So actually, it's really important that when we get one from here, is that we use it and we do the setup. If it's the lapel here, then we do the setup. And I was really impressed with Nagase, and I watched him doing a lot of his contests.
I feel like it might not have been Nagase now.
No, it's Nagase. It was because he's left, and so he also does a lot just attacking that front leg. And I was doing this a lot actually against opposites, just to get them to take a step, and it was just and so the Sasai again Ashiwaza, but this time with the Sasai, and then it gives you a chance, of course, then to come across for either the backward throws, or in his case, what it did, it gave him a really good chance when he did that, just to go onto that other lapel there. And once he caught this lapel here, like I say, he would sometimes do the Ouchigari, and he'd do the Kan Ouchigari, so he'd go over that kind of side there. And if they defended it, so as I come in and he defends it here, then it put the weight onto that front leg, and he'd do the Ashiguruma. And he did it, he does it brilliantly. He didn't do it, did it? He does it absolutely brilliantly. And against the top fighters in the world. Yeah. And also 90 kilogram Japanese, Morale. All right, Morale does the same. Morale, all right, is also left-handed, and he does the exact same. All right, he'll attack on the inside here, there, and then come across for the Ashiguruma. But sometimes what he'll do, he'll get the leg right onto the outside there for the Osotogari. So sometimes it turns into Osotogari. And then with the resistance from here, all right, you can see there that it's locked onto the front leg. Just absolute brilliance, you know. So what I would say to you is 30 seconds. I think it's probably just an amount of seconds that's been put there, and as a guide. You can normally see if somebody's attacking within a 30-second period, right? And whether they're blocking out or whether they're defending completely, or whether they're attacking and it's not 100% attack. Yeah, you can see. And I think that's what they want the referees to do. They want them to feel it, all right? And that'll be the key thing, you know, with the referees, national level referees as well, is to get them to feel the situation, which means that, and it's really important that they know how the rules are and where the rules begin and how they progress. You know, they're going to have to know the rules inside out. Yeah, some of the lower level referees, right the way up to the international referees. Anything else?
What is, how do I phrase this? What is your advice for athletes on the path to LA 2028? What should they be training, both in the gym and on the mat?
My advice to anybody training judo is as much judo as you can possibly do. All right. So your weight training and your physical training is important. It really is important, but as a supplementary training. So as many rangaris as you could possibly do, as many camps as you could possibly do. The ones going to 2028, you need to get outside and get into the camps and get the rangaris, right? So you need to build those up.
Let's dissect randoris.
Yes. Okay. So this is the other point, is that if you go to training camps, if we're training with our best friends, all right. So if for example Isaac and I were training together, we would randori together. All right. We wouldn't be full out Shiai, all right? Because if we go full out Shiai, and Shiai is as close to war or battle as you could possibly get, right? And if we did that all the time together, he'd be pretty fed up with me, and vice versa, and we'd probably fall out. So I understand why when people are at national centres and they're working together all the time, you know, why you have a little bit of conflict if it goes a little bit too heavy, or you know that you're mates and that you've got to get through. All right, this is why training camps and getting out there for different randori situations is really important, because you need a certain amount that, you know, that's a lot of our juniors and our seniors now starting to go to Georgia and getting hold of people that are just going to fight them. You know, that is Shiai. That's proper Shiai, and that is as close to a contest as you could possibly get. I remember that I was doing the Hajime show just before the commentary with Sheldon, and we were in the training area, and we were training. So we were like with the camera, talking to each other, just discussing what was going to happen with the day, who was going to fight who. And behind us, there were two Georgians, and the Georgians were definitely not doing randori. They were as close to Shiai as you could possibly get. It was fighting. They were about to go out into the middle, and they were, and I said to Sheldon, look at this, look at this. This is it. This is the warm-up. They were going at it. It wasn't just getting hold of each other here, and it wasn't just about just, you know, nice, pretty uchikomi here and looking good, all right, and static and not moving. It was moving, and it was proper, and it was gripping up there and attacking, yeah, and properly avoiding and going through the motions of the fight. What I would advise anybody who's going to be preparing for the Olympics is make sure you get your quota of randori, Shiai randori as well. All right, uchikomi setup. It's all about setup, making sure that you transition. All right, so whatever randoris or Shiai that you do, make sure that you transition. Somebody said to me at the weekend, they said, well, you know, a lot of the places you go, they do 10 tachiwaza, 5 newaza. All right, whenever I was doing tachiwaza, I would always say, I'm going to go down to newaza and we're going to do 10 seconds, right? So, you know, defend yourself. So I would be that, you know, open with them that I was going to follow it down. So it was good for me because they would follow down with me as well. All right, and just 10 seconds, follow down, get ready for the catch it there, start it off, and get used to the transition. The transition is our key big advantage. It's a massive advantage because it means that we get a chance now to go tachiwaza, newaza, and develop our newaza to the same level that we've got our tachiwaza. All right, which is what happened to me. In 1978, I lost a contest in newaza, said I was never going to get caught in newaza again. And so, you know, it was the best lesson of my life. All right, and I think that that's really important, that we make sure that we learn from things like that, and that we bring our game up. You know, if you're 80-20 here, as far as Tachiwaza Newaza is concerned, you want to bring it up. It's all right. So that it's 50-50, or as close to as you possibly can. Yeah. Okay.
That's it.
I think that's it. If anybody has got a question that they'd like to ask just before we go, all right, then just come on and ask it. If not, it's been our pleasure. I'd like to thank Isaac for, he's coming back after a shoulder injury here, so he can't take his arm up there. That's why I'm being really cautious with his arm, all right? And so it's first time like with a kit on really for a long time. But he's soon going to get back into shape, and he's going to get that the bands going to get this shoulder working. All right, it's been an absolute pleasure.
Can you just tell them about the new playlist on our YouTube channel?
New playlist on YouTube, just NA Effective Fighting, and I just did it on my, I'm not very good on the phones and the computers, right? I just did it on mine to see if I could do it. I just, YouTube, NA Effective Fighting, and it's got all of the things that you probably have never seen, some old, some really up to date, some that we did a while ago, and it's got loads of stuff on it.
But this one's called Coach's Cafe.
Yes, Coach's Cafe is what it's called. So, I mean, you'll be able to drag some different things off it. You'll be able to come through as well, ask questions if you want. All right, and yeah, and
we'll
then
be more prevalent on YouTube now.
Yeah, we're going to be really prevalent on YouTube, and then for the ones that are grading and things like that, naeffectivefighting.com, all right, will take you to, well, we've got all the Gokyo, they're all broken down into minute detailed 7-minute films on every one of the Gokyo techniques. And so if you're...
And the concepts as well.
Yeah, all the concepts, the movement, the balance, and, you know, so it's all there, and it's all for you, and it will help you with your grading. So if you've just got one of those little books there, plastic books, which has got photographs on it, get something that's got movement, show you the movement, and give you a concept on how it works. All right, and it's also got a lot of the studies that we've done as well. Juji Gatami, Tominagi, we've got Tayatoshi, Uchimata. There are lots of different ones. They're 2-hour studies, and not just me. This is, you know, using some of the best people at those techniques and breaking it down into minute detail. It's me breaking it down for you. So anyway, go on to it. Don't forget the YouTube channel, because you can go onto it right now.
And you're going to be we'll be adding videos after every Grand Slam.
Every Grand Slam, we're going to come in and we're going to go over some of the things that have happened, some of the really interesting techniques, whether it's a development within the rules, and then we'll just put it straight back onto the YouTube. All right, so it's there for you. All right, it's been a pleasure, and Nikki as well. All right, is this?
Oh no, I'm not camera
ready. You're not going to come.
No.
She's not camera ready. All right. So Nikki's the one behind the scenes. All right, who makes sure that all of this works. From Isaac and myself. All right, we're just going to bow off. Great. Okay. We'll see you all later.
Thanks, everyone.